Commander Rex. You're in violation of Order 66. I accuse you of treason against the Republic. You will be dealt with, and we will deploy the garrison. Garrison bonus activate.
Devoid out here today. I can hear my own microphone. 2 seconds and then we're going live. All right, quick question before we get this rolling, ladies and gentlemen. Quick question, and I apologize. Let's go chatting Star Wars. I like this. Quick question, guys. And this is the last stream with this camera as well. I'm returning it. It's having some focusing issues. It's having some focusing issues, which sucks, but what can you do? Out here today. This is the Archives podcast. Start streaming there. We should have Steven here. Genuinely at any time. Genuinely at any time, Steve might come in. I'm gonna tweet it out that we're live. Tweet out that we're live. Long day today. Busy day. Work was very stressful today. We are live, pal. Big Chillin' says monotonous origins, aka devoid sanity, aka my dog. My dog. Trying to get it to light mode. It's in all dark mode. I kind of need it to be light mode here, just to light me up, you know. So light me up and light me up. Fire. Is it personalization? No. General theme. There we go. Now we might be a little too bright, so let's put this here. Put this here. I love that. I love that. Send a snap to my girlfriend. Alrighty, tidy. I'm going to get things kicked into gear as we wait for Steve. But yeah, really good day of Grand Arena. Really good day of Grand Arena. I will show you guys. Will I? I lied. No, I didn't. Look at me go. Boosh. Look at this. Come on. Come on. It's your boy AlsoTeeko. We're live on the Archives podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns as well, let us know in the chat. But I do have two big announcements. Number one, go ahead and claim your raffle if you are interested in a free giveaway. We are doing a Christmas raffle for a Lightspeed bundle or gift card of your choosing. You get one entry per stream, or you get one entry per day on the Discord, just for being in the Discord. All you have to do is ask a question. And we have some really good ones. Number one thing that I want is just for everyone to have a opportunity at the giveaway, and that's why we're doing it free. Thing is, I'm giving you more chances if you support across different mediums. What are my thoughts on the Skeleton Crew? I've not seen it yet. I'll probably watch it once it's all out, once it's all released. But really good question there, Darth Paws. What are your thoughts on Skeleton Crew so far? I'm currently in the midst of my Mandalorian rewatch, so that kind of trumps the Skeleton Crew. And we're gonna get to an announcement in today's stream that will also kind of make sense of why I'm not watching so much stuff right now, and everything. And I guess we could just start with that announcement while we wait for Steve. I am going to be doing a reduced schedule for the time being. I would really like to focus on my book. And I've decided that my stream days will be dedicated and organized, time structured. And we are going to be doing Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for streams. The podcast will be on Wednesday. Friday and Sunday will be... Sunday is always going to be Star Wars Sunday. Friday is going to be some sort of something that we all do together. Some sort of like community game day. I think that would be really fun. And I really think that you guys deserve it. Genuinely, I think you guys deserve it. I really enjoy our time together. So, how close am I to finishing the book? That's kind of the thing. If I focus down on it, I will finish by April, spend a month revising and editing, and release it in May. I would say we have everything pretty sorted in the book. I know how it's ending. I know the themes I'm going for. It's just simply sitting down and writing it, and other anxieties are taking me away from the book, such as, you know, wanting to put a YouTube video out, wanting to live stream almost every day. Like, I really want to put more time and effort that I can into my book. And Darth Pause, I am putting the synopsis in the chat right now. We have a link for, not a link, but we have a command on the Twitch, but it's just not on the YouTube. All 3 episodes for me are pretty bad. Doesn't feel like Star Wars at all, and major lore problems with episode 3. I totally get ya. I totally get ya. Honestly, I feel it. Hold up, I just worked out, by the way, so my energy is just through the roof, but I need to drink my protein. I had such a good workout tonight, boys. I gotta tell my boy Ray. Feel free to talk about it too, because I don't really care. Not in the sense of what you guys are talking about, but Skeleton Crew's not going to veer me one way or another. I've not even seen an episode yet. It's been almost a month. I genuinely just, it is what it is. It is what it is. Alrighty. Where was I talking about? The book? So I've got well over half of the book written. A lot of the main story points are written. And all I need to do is just go in and not fill in with filler, but just fill in the gaps. Because I didn't write everything in order. I wrote the first 3 chapters in order, and then I skipped ahead a bit. Just because when I have an idea, I have to tackle it. I have to snag it and make sure that I'm taking advantage of it. Because if I don't, it might slip to the wayside, and that's never what I want. But from my opinion, it is a very interesting book. And again, if you have any questions about it, specific questions, I am, no pun intended, an open book. I live stream writing the book all the time, and while that has been very fun, personally, it's kind of tricky for me to... I work from home, and I think it's really good for my mental health to get out of the house. And I'm very effective in my writing when I'm not at home. I am, but I'm not. Like, I just really like to... I just like to get out of the house because I'm working from home. You kind of start to feel trapped every now and then, you know? It sucks, but it's what you have to do at the end of the day. So, while it's tricky, while it's tough, it is just simply what I gotta do. I hope you guys can understand that. I hope I'm making a semblance of sense. But just for now, I believe that I need to reduce my streaming schedule, but also refine it so you guys know when I'm going to be live, what to expect when I'm live, and what those live streams are in relation to, you know? Wednesday is going to be our podcast day where we just shoot the shit, shoot the breeze, talk Star Wars, have fun. Friday, community games, multiplayer games, some sort of retro game. And then Sunday, Star Wars Sunday. Could be a writing stream. Could be a gaming stream. Maybe we leave the Sunday stream up to our channel members and they can vote. Speaking of channel members, I'm going to check and see if I have channel memberships to give away. Because if I have channel memberships to give away, let's freaking do it. And I reckon I might. We do. Here we go. We're gifting 5 channel memberships right now, everybody. I hope you guys get them. Huh. I think the only name I recognize is Casey Wood and Akashi. Let's try 5 more. Let's give 5 more away. Hey! Monotonous Origins got one. John Layton got one. Jack Kuh got one. There we go. There's 3 guys that I know. Heck yeah. And they always come around too, so shout out to them. If you didn't get one, I do apologize. It is completely random. If I could choose, I would. But also, what you guys can do, if you would like to enter the free raffle giveaway, all you have to do is fill out this form. It helps me figure out who I'm giving it to, and we're all set. Let's see what chat's talking about. You're personally not in love with a decent chunk of the EU, so you're not one that minds often when it's overwritten. I agree. I'm in the same realm. I think there's too many. I think there's just too many extended universe stories that kind of do overlap in the first place. Like, And the thing about my book, guys, Iroh, Darth Pause, the thing about my book is it is canonical. We have beef? Why do we have beef? What do we have beef for? What do we got beef for? Oh, man, Christmas, this guy, his datacron ends and it's so sad. What are we beefing for? Be careful, bro. I squatted 320 for 3 reps tonight. I don't know. Your loot question. Yes. Yes. No, that's literally its own segment today, your loot question. Because I wanted to compare it to Revan. We're just waiting for Steve. We'll shoot him another DM real quick. Oh, he DM'd me 3 times. Oh, Steve's not feeling well. He's not feeling well. I sent him a pitch. Thanks for the channel membership. Hey, thanks for coming through, bro. Thanks for coming through. You got the silver badge now. That's pretty sick. How are you, Mr. Kang James? I don't know if it shows you in the chat, but if you'd like to enter a free raffle for our Christmas giveaway this year, you just got to ask a question. The EU has little to no contradictions and overlap. You think some people nitpick certain issues. For me, it's just Luke Skywalker. Check your stream when done. Oh, my brother is streaming. Oh, and he subscribed. Let's have a gander at my brother's stream real quick. Yo, Tay, if you can hear me, make your camera like 20% bigger. But dude, that's literally perfect. That is so sick. And also put some like lo-fi on behind your background. I gotta text them. What about Luke Skywalker? I feel, when I was doing my research in Luke, that there were certain liberties taken with Luke, and this is pre 1998 EU, mind you. I think that there were certain liberties taken with Luke, and they rinsed him. They rinsed him very dry. If you don't like Star Wars, check out my older brother stream. Always gotta support the family. I was thinking this Friday though. Why specifically? Have you read New Jedi Order? He is definitely not rinse dry there. You also don't think he's rinse dry in Zahn's trilogy either. I like him in Zahn's trilogy. I really like him in Zahn's trilogy, and that's kind of the Luke that I'm basing my story after, is the kind of very alone Luke. But I gotta ask you this, Darth Paz, because I know this is very controversial in the Star Wars realm. How do you feel about Mara Jade? I feel like everyone has their own Mara Jade philosophy, opinion, theory. How do you feel about Mara Jade? Because we can go from there. And that's something, Ira, that's a really good point to talk about my book for, is that my book takes no individual liberties. If it's not established in George Lucas's lore, it's not in my book. RJ is a good character. She was introduced very well in the EU, and her and Luke's story was done well, especially in New Jedi Order with Mara being sick and Luke knowing the inevitable. Agreed. I always felt like one of the main reasons why Luke would have gone off to the island was because Mara died. And he opened himself up to love. But his overwhelming sense of loss after opening himself up to love and connection and what's the word that they love to use in the prequels? Not possessions, but attachment. That's the right one. Luke opened himself up to attachment, which I felt like that could have maybe even been a little bit of dark side seeping in. You know? Even if you have a bowl of milk, right? You take a bowl of white milk. You do a couple of dots here and there, a couple of scotias. It's going to turn a color, right? So opening yourself up to so much love, attachment, fear of loss. I feel like at that point, Luke's milk was very strongly colored. Boom, boom. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Great question though. That's a really good counter argument though, Iro. George didn't want Luke to get married. That's something to me that I feel like you kind of have to respect. And the thing about the Jedi, right? Especially the Jedi of the old, they failed a lot. Everyone was failing a lot, and like let's call a spade a spade. Even in the prequels, every Jedi was getting it on. Every one of them. You kidding me? It's just how it was. It's just how it was. It's just it's one of the reasons they failed. George didn't want Luke to get married because he eventually signed off on it. George didn't like all of the EU. Correct. What's your guys' favorite Star Wars novel? That's a good question. What's your guys' favorite Star Wars novel? Mine would be the first Bane book. I feel like it kind of goes downhill from there. Darth Paz does not like the Clone Wars. Interesting. I really like the Plagueis book too. I really like the Plagueis book. But the Bane book is probably number 1. Plagueis book is probably number 2. Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover. You're not that far into Clone Wars, but it's actually a bit better than you thought it would be. Hell yeah. See, I love the Clone Wars. I felt like the Clone Wars was very, very personable. I enjoyed how it was directed. You know, it felt like it was a HoloNet news episode. And I think that I came along at a perfect time as well because I'm 27. So I grew up with the prequels. I grew up with admiration to the originals. I got to witness the sequels firsthand, and I loved the sequels. Episode 8, story-wise, derailed things, but I don't know if my chats are going through on my brother's stream. Hey, you bet. Can't post on YouTube due to length. Ashley Eckstein said, I was so naive to these relationships with, you know, the Jedi, and there's kids in the room. So I'm not going to explain how, you know. It was really, you know, told to me. But it's just that Jedi would have relations just because. Exactly. And that's kind of how I feel. It's kind of how I feel. The Clone Wars create so many issues with the lore, not just the EU, but the movies as well. Kind of, sort of, but it's just little things. It's just little bits. I know the Anakin and Count Dooku, where my powers have doubled since the last time we met Count. And the last time that they met, I think, was like a week before that. But the inhibitor chips aren't little things in your opinion, along with Ahsoka's entire existence. I mean, they had to explain Order 66 one way or another. And I feel like inhibitor chips are a much better proposition than you know, a secret oath. That's just me though. That's just me. I understand. Didn't mean to do that. I know everyone's gonna have their own opinion, but I feel like inhibitor chips were a good addition. In my opinion. In my opinion. As for Ahsoka, I think they wrote it well. I think they wrote it pretty well. That's true. That's true. I do see your side of it. I do see your side of it. I do see your side of it. I just feel like there would have to be a... Because Shaak Ti's present. Jedi generals are present in the training of clones and stuff. There would have to be someone that's like, Order 66. What's that? What are we doing here? What's this little thing? You know? Someone would have to have noticed it and been like, hey, that's a little fishy. We're going to check this out. Who put this in there? Was it you? Kaminoans? Nabooians? You know? I will accept just about any lore change or misalignment as long as the themes are in the right place. Everything outside of the messages is spectacle, and I prefer substance. That's your stance. As long as something doesn't get retconned in front of our faces, like something major. Something major. Grogu being Luke's first student, that was fine. That was perfectly fine. Boba Fett coming back to life to join the Tuskens, I thought was so dope. So I didn't mind that retcon death either. I don't know about many other retcons, but you know, it is what it is. It just is what it is. How do you guys feel about Rebels? Darth Pause. I would be interested in that because I feel like Rebels is very EU friendly. I love the messages that come with the kind of clones we see in the series. The idea of being individuals but still part of a whole. George Lucas loved the idea of them being used to parallel how we all, as humans, start as a blank slate, and yet end up so different, and yet so much the same. It's kind of, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And not just because of George, not just because he said it, but I think it shows that there's a lore within a lore, you know? It's not metafiction, but it flirts with it. It flirts with it. And I have not too much against metafiction. I think some of my favorite stories contain a whole lot of metafiction. At its heart, Star Wars is metafiction. It is a story being told. And there are stories within that story, a la metafiction. Star Wars Rebels is terrible. You don't think it's EU friendly. Thrawn's character was pretty much completely changed. He lost the hair and space whales. Also a bit too kiddie. And the WBW. World Between Worlds. Those are all fair points. Those are all very fair points. How would you do Thrawn differently, if I may ask? Because it's pretty tricky what they've done with Thrawn so far. Did you see Ahsoka, and did you like Thrawn in Ahsoka? Or are you're not a big fan of the Lucasfilm Thrawn? And to each their own. I do understand. I do get it. I don't want to come off as facetious or anything. I do understand. It's just like anything. When you have a story, and a really good example is my missus with Wicked. You know, she was very, very, very guarded and very worried that it wouldn't translate and wouldn't do so well in the movie, and she was just worried about them doing a good job and, you know, honoring the story. But she came out of it absolutely adoring the film. So I think there's something to say about that, and there's something to say about taking a character like a Thrawn that people adore, that there's, God forbid, how many books about Thrawn? 12 books about Thrawn, 6 EU, 6 canon. If you had to adapt Thrawn, which you wouldn't because you'd rather keep him in the EU, but if you had to, try and stick with the same exact character. Pretty simple recipe. In what ways did you find that they veered off character with Thrawn? Because I've only read Heir to the Empire. I'm still yet to begin the second book because I went back to read the canon Thrawn books. Really? Sabine using the Force, I feel like everyone feels one way or another about. I feel like it's one way or another. I'm for it. I'm very for it. Because one of George's big, one of his big opinions is that anybody can use the Force. Sometimes people's doors are opened a lot wider than others, and sometimes you have to work on it. But no matter what, anybody has the opportunity to, because nobody has 0 midichlorians. Nobody. And midichlorians are half of the battle, but so is putting them to use. And Sabine was practicing to be a Jedi for a long time. Like, between Rebels and Ahsoka, this is a good distance of years, By having him not be as intelligent, he outsmarted the New Republic, found the Katana fleet, was extremely feared. In Rebels and Ahsoka, not so much. I feel like he's pretty feared. I feel like he's pretty feared. I disagree with that. I think he's very much feared. Granted, and we also have to remember, we're judging a story based upon 1/3 of its piece, right? There's still Ahsoka season 2 to come, and then there's the Heir to the Empire movie to come. So I think that there's still tons of stuff to come, and I don't want to shoehorn it and say it's bunions right now, but I really enjoyed Ahsoka. I felt Ahsoka was super solid. He's 100% feared in the universe. Whether you think that's warranted is a different story. That I agree with. That I agree with. I think he's 1,000% frightened. Like, Hera is begging the senators to take this seriously. Like, Thrawn is coming back. And of course, the one senator who's the loudest is ex-Imperial. You know? Imperial officers thought if Thrawn was around during the Battle of Endor, it would have been an Empire landslide. I don't think in Disney canon the Imperial officers would be feared of someone who lost to whales. He didn't lose to whales, he lost to a Jedi. He lost to a Jedi. Like, we can't just throw that under the bus. He lost to a Jedi. And if Ezra doesn't do what Ezra does, the rebellion's done for. Like, that's a literal, it was an all or nothing thing. It was a Hail Mary what Ezra did. Because there wasn't even a guarantee that it was going to work. And Leia, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Mischief. Just getting into some mischief. Jedi who was never formally trained. Kanan ran away before he was a knight. Ezra was trained by a youngling. No, Kanan got knighted. Kanan got knighted. Our boy Kanan got knighted. Unofficially, but officially. When was Kanan knighted? Kanan was knighted. I gotta find it. So, return to Lothal's temple. While searching for a suitable planet to house the rebellion's base, Kanan and Ezra had another encounter with the seventh sister and fifth brother. After a brief duel, Kanan and Ezra escaped on a Tibidi that Ezra was controlling through the Force. And once the pair had boarded the Phantom, they escaped into space with Chopper. Once in hyperspace, Kanan instructed Hera to rendezvous with them in deep space to avoid exposing the fleet to the Inquisitors. Upon returning to the Ghost, Kanan and Ezra decided to return to the temple on Lothal in order to seek out Master Yoda and find a way to defeat the Empire due to their previous encounter with the Grand Master in the same location. The two Jedi arrived on Lothal in the Phantom, accompanied by Ahsoka Tano, who is conducting her own investigation into the Sith Lord, Darth Vader. While meditating in the temple, Kanan entered a vision in which he saw a Jedi temple guard known as the Sentinel within a dojo. The Sentinel warned Jairus that Bridger would fall to the dark side and that the boy had to be eliminated. Grabbing another lightsaber off the wall, Jairus refused and engaged him in a lightsaber duel. Holding off the Sentinel and 2 other guards, by the end of the duel, Jairus refused to fight any further and had admitted that while he may not be able to protect Bridger forever, he would continue to do his best to train him. The Sentinel looked as if he was about to strike Jairus down, but instead knighted him and removed his mask to reveal the face of the Grand Inquisitor. Jairus asked what everything that had happened meant, and the Sentinel said that it meant Jairus was now a Jedi Knight, as he himself used to be. As the 7th sister and 5th brother entered the temple, the Sentinel told Jairus to flee and said that he would hold off the enemy. Jairus, Bridger, and Tano managed to escape the temple and return to the Phantom. Safe for the moment, Ezra revealed he had spoken to Yoda and that he had been told to find Malachor. Ahsoka explained that Malachor was not a person, as Ezra assumed, but a place. So through a vision, through a meditative vision, Kanan was knighted. And I'm cool with that, because if I wasn't okay with this, I'm not okay with Cal Kestis being knighted by Seer Junda. You know? And I really am okay with that. How do you feel about the Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, Darth Paz? Something to remember. The Jedi don't own the Force and are just individuals that made an organization. It's not insane for someone to dictate that they pass their own trial and are knighted. Does through a vision really count as being knighted, though? I think your point still stands. He stopped training as a Padawan. Thrawn lost to a fake Jedi. I think it does count, because it's through the Force, right? He's being knighted through the Force. He passed trials through the Force. And I think that there's no more real thing for a Jedi to do than pass a trial in the Force. Personally. That's just how I feel about it. Like, yeah, I could do a training course. I can levitate objects. I can compete in combat, but doing so through the Force, I think that has a lot of mustard to it. But again, that's just me. And I love that we all have different opinions. This is really fun. I do enjoy talking about this. Cal Kestis was an interesting concept, but the Inquisitors ruined the first game for you. Cal was a Padawan that escaped, and now he can escape all the Inquisitors? The Zephyr were an interesting concept. Yeah, I think just like Luke, Cal is obviously very strong in the Force due to his pull to the dark side is so strong because of all the trauma and pain and fear that he's suffered, that the dark side's kind of been pulling him wider and wider and wider. and wider and wider and wider, thus creating this massive force potential. And Cal's willingness to remain in the light no matter what he's gone through, and his relationship with Marin, his relationship with his companions, it's very Revan-like. It's very Revan-like. He does everything for his friends. And man, just my favorite games. You never know. Star Wars has shown that you get your powers when the Force calls, you have to answer. I don't think it's a time thing. I think, and that's kind of what they show in the game too, is you don't have those powers until he needs them. And he has to reflect back on his learning and meditate into his prior learning to learn them. I think how they do it's very, very good. Because it's not like you level up, you click a button and boom, you can now double jump. Like, you have to put yourself in the predicament where you need a double jump, and then he feels a force echo that reverts back to his training, and then you have to go through the training, and you have to succeed in the training. That I really enjoy. The Inquisitors, well, let's be real. Let's be real. And let's think about it logically. The Inquisitors are all what? Fallen Jedi, right? They're all fallen Jedi. Why were they chosen? Why were they fallen Jedi in the first place? A fallen Jedi, such as an Inquisitor, probably would not have been bought in to the principles, probably would not have been bought into the ideology of the Jedi, and probably wouldn't have been putting their all into getting better as a Jedi. So it's kind of like an expansion draft in the NBA. You only get to pick from the players that teams let go because they're willing to let them go. You see the most powerful Inquisitor, Trilla, who is the most powerful, not because she wanted to become an Inquisitor, but because she was betrayed. You know, everyone else signed on the dotted line because they were cowardice. And they wanted the easy option. They were afraid of death. So they signed up to be an Inquisitor. Inquisitors were cannon fodder, Vader said. They were lazy Jedi that didn't want to become good Jedi, that didn't dedicate themselves to become good Jedi. And they were average, below average Jedi that had loose morals, didn't have the right discipline. And if you're going to have loose morals and not the right discipline, why would you be strong in the dark side if you weren't strong in the light? So the Inquisitors, I am very fine with them being cannon fodder. Because they weren't good Jedi in the first place. What would make them good dark Jedi? Just because they're angry? They're not angry. They're just lazy. I will say, though, I think that the characters are well written. They're well written to be not as powerful because they wouldn't be powerful. The powerful ones would be Trilla, because Trilla was a powerful, aspiring Jedi. He was a temple guard. He lost to Kanan and Ezra. Yeah, and in lore, temple guards, you know, it's the Jedi duty force, right? He's not on the council. He doesn't have an apprentice. He's a temple guard. It's like a mall cop to a cop. And that's a really good way of looking at the Jedi too, is you have your detectives, you know, your Anakin and your Obi-Wan. You have your chiefs, the council. And then you have, you know, your guys that do paperwork, Joe Castanu. You have your guys that do the door opening, the Grand Inquisitor. You know, he's a Jedi at the end of the day, but he's not like that. And we've never really seen the Grand Inquisitor do much outside of the Inquisitorius. And the only reason why he's like that in the Inquisitorius was he was a coward. You know, he was vengeful. He didn't get the opportunities that other Jedi had. So he was vengeful. This is fantasy. It's important not to forget that this story was found on not always following strict real-world logic. There's more of a romantic logic to it. The original Star Wars was just David versus Goliath. Exactly. And that's... I like to apply Star Wars to real-world things, such as, you know... Who would be the vengeful cop? Would it be the ones that are out doing the stuff that cops always want to do? Or would it be the one that was saddled back at the station... pushing pencils and pushing paper, you know? If Trilla is the most powerful Inquisitor and a very little trained Cal beat her, Cal didn't beat her, he survived her. Darth Vader killed her. And Cal didn't beat her through combat. He didn't beat her through the Force. He beat her with compassion. He broke down her walls. He showed her, yeah, like, we are the same person. We both went through it. We both saw our loved ones betray us. We both saw the clones betray us. And we've both been betrayed, and we both lost, and we both hurt. But there's a way out of it, and there's a right way to do it. And I think Trilla's a human being. You'd say Cal beat her for sure. He wounded her badly where she was on the ground disarmed. I don't know, though. I don't know. I'm still of the ideology that Trilla consistently got the best of Cal. Consistently. Over time and over exposure to the Force, yeah, he put up a better fight. But I don't know. I think consistently Trilla was getting the best of Cal. I don't think we need to have the goalposts be that the Inquisitors have to be bad for the good guys to win to be okay. Cal definitely beat her. You just don't think Inquisitors are good villains if they lose to Padawan-trained Jedi. Well, that's just the thing, too, is that George always said that the light would always trump the dark. You know? George always said that the light would always overcome the dark. And, especially in Rebels, like... more often than not, they're just surviving the Inquisitors. They're just escaping them. They're not necessarily beating them. When they do beat them, it's a situation where it's a 2-on-1. Like you said, the Grand Inquisitor lost to Kanan and Ezra. Both of them. So, I do get your points, trust me. I do get your points, but I think that there is just there's this balance issue that the light will always outweigh the dark. You think formal training isn't the end all be all? I don't either. I don't either. There's also a lot of training that we don't directly see in a TV show. You know what I mean? Like, we don't see everything that goes on in the story, and that's when you have great books such as The Shattered Apprentice that shows the in-depth training of two very powerful young Jedi, Nathan Kaiso and Ben Solo, by Grandmaster Luke Skywalker. And you see the training, and you see how tough it is, not only to train but to be trained. And you get it. Like, formal training is no freaking joke. But talking about my book, I'd like to ask you guys, as well-educated Star Wars fellas, how do you feel about Luke's Jedi Order and attachments? How do you feel about that? And then we're going to get to some mailbag questions after this one. And we have some really good mailbag questions too. Some really good mailbag questions. You guys are awesome. You have another quote that's really important to keep in mind when coming to power imbalances. I'd love to see it. Luke's Jedi Order should definitely have some attachments very similar to what we see in the EU. Good, because I've written my characters to everyone has attachments. Everyone has their specific attachment. You'll post it on Twitch. Oh, okay, perfect. George Lucas. Having grown up in the I'll try and do his voice. Having grown up in the shadow of the Vietnam War, the issue of a primitive society confronting a technological advanced society has fascinated me, because that was the main event that was going on really during my college years. And the fact that human determination and human spirit could overcome vastly superior armies, actually I found to be rather inspiring as a human being. I think that is a theme, one of the main themes that's gone all through the Star Wars films. Is your book congruent with your own timeline, or is it Disney or EU? Lucas's. George Lucas's 1 through 6, and it ends with 7. So obviously my book takes place between episodes 6 and 7. It leans on everything everything that George did and everything that George would do. And I'm just trying to make sense of the bullshit in the sequels, that you can read my book, watch the sequels, and go, oh my God, like, that happened because of Nathan. That happened because what happened in chapter 5, you know? So it's canon. My book is congruent with the pre-2012 canon. But Yeah, co-aligns with pre-2012 canon, but it builds up to Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, because I loved Ben Solo, I loved Kylo Ren, and I love Luke Skywalker, and I just want them both to do well. And I want their stories to make sense, but also mean something. So, that's what we're doing. My back is a brick shit house, bro. Massive. We are massive. All right. So let's get into these raffle questions. The first one is from Devoid. And this is a good question. This is a really good question. Do you think that Anakin could have ever flipped sides if given the chance? Could he have? I don't think so. Because all Anakin ever wanted to do was honor Qui-Gon and be the man that Qui-Gon wanted him to be. Be like Qui-Gon. Anakin built his image in that of Qui-Gon. You know, he was growing out his hair to look like Qui-Gon. He wanted to idolize the man that saved him. So I don't think that he would ever have given up that dream. You know, to be a Jedi, to get powerful enough to go save his mother. And he didn't flip because if he's not a Jedi, he doesn't have access to Padme. I love George Filoni. George Filoni, oh my God. Dave Filoni, George Lucas. I love them. This is from the Egg Sir. What do you think will be the biggest adjustment you'll need to make after you move to Scotland? That's a big, interesting question. The biggest adjustment. I think obviously public transportation is the first one. Because I won't be driving for a hot while. And public transportation is just very big there. It's very, very big there. It's everywhere. It's very popular. It's very affordable. Does the job. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because just moving around and doing stuff. Setting up house and home, definitely. And you can only do it so much from a long distance relationship when you're long distance, but I think just adapting to, you know, my partner's schedule and my partner's ongoings, and however I can, you know, help make things easier, and then vice versa, just the schedule adjustment, because right now it's about, you have a nice 10-hour window together, and then you got sleep here, and then your partner sleeps. So I think that'll be really nice too. And another, I guess, not a biggest adjustment, but maybe the biggest adjustment would just be, you know, just schedules. But they're big adjustments that I look forward to, you know. And then there's also from the Egg Sir. In your opinion, who is the most powerful Jedi in history? Lord Almighty. I think you have to go with, and I know this isn't going to be a popular answer, but Rey Skywalker. I think Rey Skywalker has to be the most powerful Jedi in history. She can convene with every Jedi that's ever been, you know? That's insane. She was trained by Luke Skywalker. I really like Rey. I really like Rey. Number 2, Revan has to be there. Number 3, it has to be Anakin / Luke. I think Anakin and Luke could be 3A, 3B, dependent upon your view upon it. I think Anakin was being nerfed by the Republic era Jedi. I think he was so being nerfed. Do I like the sequels? Yeah. Yeah. I think episode 7 was very solid. Episode 8 kind of derailed things, and episode 9 did what it could. But I don't dislike them. I don't think that there's a bad Star Wars movie. But I just think that the story in episode 8 derailed everything and all the momentum that episode 7 had. Lucas says Luke, Leia, and Anakin all had the same aptitude for the Force. Yeah. For sure. And Leia was, from what I've assessed from her teachings, from what I assessed in Leia's teachings, she was very much just like Anakin. What up, Tron? Beer money Bobby Roode after a few books and some tea? Exactly. We'll have the mustache back soon. We'll have it back soon. Dave Filoni says, you know, Qui-Gon understands you can still love someone as long as you don't try and possess them. As long as you can let them go. He is selfless. After seeing how attachment turned Darth Vader back to the light, that shows everything boils down the main thing. Fear. It's not the attachment that is the enemy. It's the risk of fear. It's the fear of losing the people. Do you still watch Disney Star Wars, or are you checked out? Oh, of course. Absolutely. There's certain things that I'm checked out on, but Andor was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. Ahsoka was brilliant. Very fun. Absolutely loved it. The Mandalorian Season 3. That ruined it for me. The Mandalorian Season 3 was my first stab in the back, I believe. Bringing Grogu back in Book of Boba Fett, that was my first really good stab in the back, brother. Grogu should have remained with Luke. Like, I don't know what you do with Grogu. Genuinely. I don't know what the plan is with Grogu going forward. Season 2 was worse than Season 3? Interesting. Interesting. Do you care to explain? I'm curious. I've never heard someone say that. Season 1 was my favorite. Season 2 was also very freaking good. I enjoyed the hell out of Season 1. And while you explain, Kang Kakashi asks, what is my writing process like? So, before I write for the day, I will consult with my notes. I will ask myself, who? W. what do I want to accomplish? H, how will I accomplish? And O, over what time period? Because with Star Wars, continuity means everything, right? Continuity means everything. So I do my who, and then I just go through cause and effect. What I want to accomplish, what happens because of it, and it's not, I hate when you're reading something or watching something and it's so predictable. This happens because this happens. Therefore, this happens because that happened. When really life is more like this happened because this happened, but this actually happened. This was the plan. This is how it was supposed to work, but this is actually how it went. Cause and effect. I do a lot of brainstorming. I do a lot of deep diving into what I'm about to write. I prepare some nice notes to be beside me. I turn my phone off. I put on some very like Oppenheimer-y music, and I have some water near me. At the end of every paragraph, I drink a big chug of water. And then at the end of every line of dialogue, I take a sip of water, because your mind does not function well if it's dehydrated. Your brain is 80% water. And if your brain is dehydrated, you will not do your best work. So hydration is very important to me. I always keep my pen near me. Just in case I have an idea. I have an ideas note in my phone in case I have an idea. I have a mentor who I can't. Revenge of the Sith menu music on loop. You gotta send me that. And also, bro, Iro, if you'd like to just hang out and talk some Star Wars every now and then, let me know, bro. I'd love to hear some of your fanfics or read some of your fanfics. But yeah, I turn do not disturb on. I lock my door and just write. I write. I set a goal and I don't stop until I hit it. Very good question though, Ken Kakashi. And I think last question, unless we get one in chat for the stream, because I really have to go to the bathroom. And we've already gone an hour and a half, and I have a very early day in the morning I have to get ready for. And this is from Professor Exer. Which Legends character do you want to see adapted in the Disney canon? I want to see Revan adapted in the Disney canon. I would like to play him. I think I could play a very good Revan. And I would like... I'd like it to be a movie trilogy. I think you have to do Revan leading up to the Mandalorian Wars. Then you have to do Revan and Knights of the Old Republic. And then Revan's Return. You have to do it like that. Iro, take that to the Cantina in Discord. The first KOTOR game could be a trilogy. I agree. Yo, Darth Pause, are you in the Discord by chance? Because I'd love to keep talking with you guys, but I genuinely just have to start getting ready for bed. and I have to use the bathroom and take a shower. But I will be in the cantina, ready to talk some Star Wars. So let's keep the conversation rolling in the Discord, and I will see you guys all later, alligator. Thank you all for the wonderful podcast. This was probably my favorite solo podcast that we've ever done. Genuinely. You guys were awesome. Literally chatting from point A to point B. You guys were so sick. Darth Paz, it was awesome to get to know you, brother. And like Iro says, even though we disagree, talking Star Wars is fun. And I'm glad that we disagree, because who would want to agree on everything? We still have beef. Bro, the segment's written. Steve just wasn't here. You have beef with Steve. Hashtag beef with Steve in the comments, boys. But, alright. I love you all. Peace, love, and life. Deuces, manuses. And I'll see you guys in the Discord. Bye-bye.
Yeah.